shows that make you think, music that moves you. It could only be one place. Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at ubnradio.com.
Shut up, just shut up, shut up, 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 just shut up.
Hi, everybody. Welcome.
Oh, hello. We're so busy on our iPads. We don't have time for the people back home.
I'm ready for
I didn't even have time to
everyone.
put my lipstick
You're
on.
putting
I was
your
so
lip
busy
gloss. I was
tweeting.
chatting away on the way here to Dorothy because I was afraid I would be late yet again.
And she is so afraid of you, by the way.
You keep saying that, but I don't believe it at
No,
all.
I'm not. It's the traffic because I even said to John, oh, I did it. I got out so early this time. Boom. There was somebody in a pickup truck and his plywood fell over. This is so true.
I hate when that happens.
No. And I'm like, just how many of these can I come up with every week anyway? And it's true. The guy, this is the merging of the 405 onto the 101. And I'm thinking, okay, now,
California.
Now what can I do? Now who can I call? Should I just go
And
home?
it's always me.
And it's always you.
Because
She'll
she's
kill
late,
me.
right? I'll just ignore you.
No, but as we were talking and talking and talking, at the very end, you said, my mom's in the car with us. And I thought, oh, my goodness, I've been going on for 20 minutes like this. And then I thought,
You should, you know what? That was bad etiquette. You should always warn people
That's true.
but you know, my mom wasn't listening to you, to be quite frank.
Yet
no, I
another,
understand.
one more person not listening to you, Deborah, and your complaints.
no, but then I realized, no wonder why we called this show Shut Up. I mean, if it's for anybody.
I did actually have to say to you, shut up, I have to get out of the car.
No, you were too
because-
kind. You didn't even say shut up. You
Well,
She
I-
should
I-
have.
I
She
do.
meant
I
it.
say
She
shut up
should have.
on the air.
So, hence, welcome to Shut Up.
We're here.
So,
That's right. Here we are. I'm Anna Garcia.
Hey, I'm Dorothy Lucy.
Deborah Zara Kobylt.
So many names.
Yeah, really.
Just
such a
like
big
Hillary
girl.
Rodham Clinton. You know, you
She's
got to
going
go
to add
there.
another one at some point. She's going to have 4 names, I think.
Oh.
Really? Do you know something we don't?
No, but I'll let you know.
You must have a middle name. Deborah Ann.
No, I
Deborah
was
Sue?
not born with one, but my
Okay.
confirmation name was Marie. So Deborah Marie Zara
Okay.
Kobylt. You know.
Nice. I like
Did
it.
you guys ever want a different name growing up?
Yes, I
Like,
wanted to be named Michelle.
I wanted to be Tiffany.
I wanted to be named Michelle.
You wanted to be a stripper, and that's Michelle is just kind of,
Well,
I don't know.
Well, because I grew up in a
Boring?
middle-class Jewish neighborhood, and all the girls were named Michelle, and nobody was named Anna Garcia. So I wanted
That's
to be
such
Michelle.
a nice. What's your middle name?
Anna Isabel Maria Garcia.
We can call you Izzy. Shit, that'd be cute.
They wanted me to change my name when I first got into TV. So I was going to be in my first TV job in Scranton, Pennsylvania. I was going to be Dorothy Brent.
I don't like it.
What?
I like Lucy.
But everybody calls you Lucy,
Like,
right?
what's
Even
wrong-
sometimes
No,
I call you Lucy.
Only you.
No, we've had guests here who call you Lucy.
Yeah,
Oh, that
yeah.
was Tom
Zoe-
LaBonge. Tom LaBonge kept calling her Lucy.
Yeah.
And Zoe
It's
sometimes
just-
calls you
It's
Lucy.
just politicians and transgender people. call
I
me
know.
Lucy.
So they and me. And me.
You have 2 first names, Dorothy. It's hard. Or Dorothea. So Dorothy and I this
Yes.
week, we're raising some money for the Police Athletic League over
I
in
love that.
Hollenbeck.
Oh, that
I
was
love
right after we left here last
It
week.
was, and it was nothing short of chaos, Deborah.
Oh my God,
Oh,
we were.
tell
Can I
me.
just
We
say
have
we
the
were so
photos.
terrible?
Well,
It was horrible. It was a
Oh,
disaster.
I don't believe that.
No.
For a second.
No, it
No,
was.
it was a disaster.
Well, your selfies looked good. Oh, by the way, we're having someone next week on our show to promote it. How to take a great selfie. So anyway, has a
I
book
like
on
that.
it. But anyway, back to all your great selfies.
It was a disaster. No.
about
It was a
it.
very long script that we got right before we went on, and we mangled it.
Did
You
you? Do you have the
mangled it.
pictures?
Which ones?
Yeah, the pictures. I sent you a bunch of
bunch,
pictures.
yeah.
Well, they're.
Oh,
no-
see, that looked like so much
Okay,
fun.
that looks like fun, but that wasn't the fun part. There's
that
the
was
picture.
before, when it
Good,
was
I feel
fun.
better because
Us
I
on
felt
stage.
bad I wasn't there.
The picture of us on stage. There's no light. Leslie Miller Frank is holding her iPhone so we can read it. There's only one script.
Oh, I
it's
would've been dead.
inaccurate. It's inaccurate, and the audio system was so bad that no one could hear us. It was nothing short of a disaster. And then what did I do, Dorothy? I started the event on which page?
She started the script on the wrong page.
On the wrong page. I started on the wrong page. Hello,
And-
we
and-
have some guests here. Hello.
Hi, guys.
Who are
And
these
she's the
people?
one
There's like
who's-
people in the studio, and I have no
We're
idea.
very
Wait,
popular.
let
Are
me
they
just-
coming to
let me
take me
just
out?
finish- Let me just finish ragging on her.
Okay, sure.
She's the one who's always organized.
Right.
And they made a big deal of saying, please start on page 2. And anyway,
I started on the wrong page.
Eh,
Well, why do you start on page 2 anyway? It should be page
don't
1. That would have thrown me off from
you
the
know
beginning.
why? Hector Elizondo, and we have a picture of Hector Elizondo there, John. He was being honored, and the event was going on forever and ever, and they wanted to get him done, so they moved him up early. You know Hollywood. You got to get the stars done first. They can't wait around for the little people.
When I
I'm
show
kidding.
up, they always make sure I'm first. But
Yes.
go ahead.
So that was it. So that's us with Hector Elizondo, and that's Nancy Caldwell all the way on the left. It was a great evening, and we did raise money, but it was a disaster of of an event.
You know, when
anyway.
that happens,
Even though
don't
we
you just-
embarrassed ourselves.
Don't
We
you just
did.
get the script and toss it when that happens and just say,
Yeah, except there were like 30 more pages of it. Do you want to introduce your friends?
We do have friends. This is my friend Charlie Stewart. How are you,
Hi,
Charlie?
I know you.
Yes,
I know
of course
I've
you
worked
do.
Channel 9. Channel 9?
Channel 9.
No,
Knew
he,
it.
he says he does not know you.
No, he said he does know me. Channel 9. Yeah, see?
Yes,
we-
and Charlie and I worked at Channel 4, and Charlie worked with Dorothy.
Wait,
Nowhere?
No, we've never worked together. You worked with my husband.
I worked with you
Forever.
at Channel 9. Yeah.
And who's your friend, Charlie?
I'm Jason.
Hi, Jason.
With For Reals channel.
Oh, okay, cool. And for some reason, Jason seems to be interested in our podcast. He's like our only fan. So I'm like, sure, bring him in. Someone
Whoa,
who
whoa, whoa.
actually
For
cares.
some reason, I would be interested. I think this podcast is amazing. I think you're at the right place. So whatever it is,
No, the,
we're all
the,
there
the rest
for
of
you.
us really do not understand it.
I get it. So
right.
we'll talk later.
Oh, yes, indeed.
Okay, but what I really also want to talk about is Dorothy being dissed yesterday.
Oh, okay.
But
If
I
you- if
already
you
told
want
you
to.
why. You set it
Yeah,
up,
but see,
and I'll tell you why.
You say it on the podcast. You don't say I told you in the car.
Right, I'm gonna repeat
Nobody
it.
cares.
All right, I'm going to say why. All right, so yesterday.
You,
Oh,
are you
I'm
sure
glad
you're
you know
interested
why,
in this
'cause
thing?
I don't know
You're
why.
really interested in us, huh?
Of
The
course.
chaos that erupts. You'll walk out of here with
Well,
a
this is a
headache.
big deal. Okay, so yesterday, Fox 11, the Fox station here in Los Angeles, makes a really big deal about Steve Edwards, one of the morning hosts, celebrating 20 years there. They
Right.
completely ignore the fact that Dorothy spent 17 years of those 20 making that show a success. It's as if Dorothy didn't exist. They never showed video of her.
All right, well, mention Jill, too, because now you're making it seem like she didn't exist. There
Well,
were two
Jill's
of us.
not here, yes, but there are two of you that didn't exist. It's true, right? The two co-hosts who got the boot,
Okay.
right?
But
After
don't-
17 years.
Isn't it
Almost
obvious
18.
why this happened? I mean, do I really need to
Yes,
explain it
you
to
do
you?
need to say
Okay.
it. Say it for the record.
Now, you
Okay.
can say what you said to me in the car. I'm old, and that's why I got fired.
I did not.
She
tell
said
Oh my
it.
her
God,
that.
Deborah, did you say
No,
that?
no, she
Under
said
no
it.
circumstances.
She said it so much
Not even a
nicer.
little bit.
She said it so much
my
nicer.
God.
Not.
Oh my God.
By the
No,
way,
but
that
that-
did not happen.
No,
Let
there,
me tell you
but
what
no,
I said.
we discussed that. There is a shelf life for women in this business.
All right, let me explain how I said it because I'm much.
You said it nicely.
Of course I did. I said they replaced you with something that with
With
a demographic
younger women.
with a demographic that they thought would be more appealing, and then from going from first and in doing that they went
You
from
don't have to backpedal. It does
they
not
went
hurt my
from-
feelings.
they went from first place to last place, right? In doing that. So then why wouldn't they want you? Because it's a big I screwed up to the general manager because obviously you show up, everybody's gonna be like, "Oh my God, Dorothy!"
And Dorothy, we miss you.
Oh my God,
It's
oh
not
my
the
God.
same without you. The ratings suck. Nobody's watching.
Oh my God, and we hate the new girls. It's like everything, right? And who's the other one? Jillian. Same thing. I mean, you
Who's
guys.
the other one?
Well, I forget. And so you. No, you just forget people. But
So did Fox.
You're not
well,
helping John.
I guess what I'm saying
so
is
did the whole station.
he did it because he would have looked bad. If you showed up, he would have looked bad. So that's why the guy wanted to look like
Well,
he
and I
knew-
understand the way television works, and it's not warm and fuzzy. And you
Right.
get fired, you get fired. And I almost understand why they didn't want to bring us back for this special. But I don't think, and tell me if I'm being petty, I don't think you can celebrate 20 years of Steve being on a show and ignore the first 18 years of the show, which I guess they had to do because apparently, so I was going to watch just to see if we were in any clips. And my husband, who is so smart, he's like, why would you watch? You're not going to be in any clips. And I was like, I'm not. Oh, yeah, you're right.
because you're always
not.
hopeful.
Okay,
Because
the
you're always
fact that they
hopeful.
didn't even have you in a clip is even more telling.
It's
He just
disgusting.
didn't-
It's disgusting.
No,
is,
but,
but
you know
it's
what? I
because
had
he
the
didn't
most
wanna look
fun
bad.
morning because halfway through the show, I texted Jillian, who I did the show with for
Right.
18 years, and I said, happy anniversary. And we had a very
Oh, did you have a glass of
entertaining-
wine over
We had
it?
a very entertaining morning together.
You should have had some wine and just sort
Well,
of.
it was 7 in the morning, but
I am a little
Bloody
surprised.
Mary, maybe.
I am a little surprised that Steve wouldn't say, "Hey, I got to have the girls in here. You got to put them in something. If there was a tape or something.
Or just even a mention.
What I was told, well,
Even a
he
mention.
did apparently say something at the end of the show. What I was
When they
told
were off
When
the
they,
air?
when they were off the air, it's like
when they were almost off the
they go to
air.
black. It's like,
Please.
and don't forget, pew, and, you know.
What I was told is that there was a meeting, and a lot of people said you can't talk about 20 years and leave out the first 18. And there was one person in the meeting who apparently had the final say.
Would that
and
be the
said-
general manager?
Possibly, and said, no, those girls do not exist in this special. So we did not exist.
They do not exist because
May
if
I
you
say
did,
this?
if you did exist, it would make him look bad because people would say, "Why aren't they back here?" And then he'd be canned. So
That
if
is
you're
so
listening-
screwed up. It's actually fucked up.
Yeah.
And you can say that
Ooh.
here. You can say that here because we don't have FCC regulations, and this is one of those
Oh,
situations
that
when
must
it's really.
feel
Yeah,
so good, Anna.
but
Say it
did.
again.
But my mother
It did
is here.
feel. I know you're. Oh my God.
It's okay. Her hearing is not that good.
I was on the phone for 20 minutes and I had no idea she was in there. And the number of curse words, right? The number of effed up. I can't even say it. Like I'm so trained not to do it. I feel like I'm doing something really bad if I say it.
Your
It's
mother,
like it's
your
like
mother's
you.
more important than the FCC.
No, if I say it on the air, it just feels wrong.
You know what? Yesterday may have been a
Right?
little effed up, but at the end of the day, and I don't mean, people always say at the end of the day. I mean, this was literally at the end of the day. My son said to me, "Was it such a big deal?" And I said, "No. I mean, it's not. It's television. It's stupid. It's not a big deal." But
It's wrong, is what it is. It's just wrong.
But I said to him, I did that show longer than you've been alive. And he was like, "Oh, yeah, I guess that is kind of a big deal."
It is a big deal. So congratulations on your 20th anniversary.
Jillian and I enjoyed it. We had a separate, not quite equal anniversary.
There you go. You made Steve Edwards a success. Congratulations, Dorothy Lucy.
And you were first place. It's always nice to leave on top, right? And to
Yeah,
look back and go,
not when-
sorry, you're on the bottom now,
Not
but
when you get
nothing
fired.
I can
But
do
anyway.
about it.
Right.
We've all been there.
That still sucks. Indeed. Indeed. Indeed.
All right, are we talking to your friend Dan? Because we've
Is he
talked
calling?
enough about
Dan
me.
Lothian, White House correspondent. Hang on. He just
He's
said to
not
me,
calling?
no, he is. He said, be there in 5 minutes, just getting off the subway. Oh, for God's sake.
Oh, the problems of living in a big city with
I'm in
transportation.
D.C. The man's in D.C. He's got big people to see. Let me write to him and say, on the air, hurry up.
So what?
So hurry
You submitted some photos too? Did you give John something? What were the photos from?
Oh, okay. The one event that you and I really screwed up, the police event, which we really should have been arrested for. And then there's another one of my friend Ellen Shane.
This one?
So yeah, so Ellen had 2 fundraisers last week. This woman, I listen. I wouldn't get out of bed in the morning. I don't know how she does it. You might remember her daughter Emily was killed a couple of years ago. Emily was 13. She was walking on PCH. I didn't know Ellen. I really didn't know Emily at the time. But she was a year older than my son, walking on PCH. She's about to cross the street to meet her dad. And there was this crazy, do you want to use the F word again?
You can use it.
I mean, this guy who was just beyond effed up on drugs and God knows what else. And people had been calling the cops for like 20 minutes while he was driving on PCH, saying there's someone driving erratically. Anyway, he mowed down this beautiful little girl. And her mom has started a charity, and it's almost kind of a school on wheels, and you know how we love school on wheels. So here's her mom, A, living through the day, and B, starting this nonprofit where she is setting up tutoring services for middle schoolers, because her daughter was a middle schooler, all over Los Angeles. So it's the Emily Shane Foundation. So
write that
you know what?
down.
Just take a look.
Thank
I mean,
you.
it is a mom who is being a superhero in the name of her daughter. And in order to be tutored, it's no cost. You just have to do something good for somebody.
Oh,
that's the price of a
great.
tutoring session.
Oh, that's the price.
I
love
think that's
that.
fantastic. And the fact that she can get up and do this is incredible. I hear somebody on the phone.
Yes.
Is there someone
Dan
there?
still in the
Dan, is
subway?
that you?
Yeah, it's me. I'm here.
Hi, Dan.
Are you like on a street corner somewhere? Where are
Dan,
you?
Dan,
a
do
loud
you-
street corner?
There. Okay, Tan.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Well, I hear the sirens behind you. We know you're in a city unless you're just like sort of pretending.
God, you're in
But-
DC. What's going on?
I'm in Washington, D.C. I'm in here for a couple of days and just kind of moving around. So, yeah, coming to you from the nation's capital where we'll be talking a little bit about the 2016 campaign, and this is where it all happens.
Dan,
Dan, are you on the subway platform?
For
Where the
goodness
hell are
sakes,
you?
will you
Jesus
try
Christ.
and find a bathroom so that we can hear you better?
Is that a little distracting? No,
Oh, my
it isn't.
God.
Dan,
I just got
Dan.
off a subway train.
Dan, listen to me.
Show professionalism, Dan.
This is a White House correspondent here for CNN, and this is where I get him.
This is a low-budget show.
I'm one of my best
always
friends.
on the move. I think you should like this because at least I'm getting, I'm right there at the center of where everything's going on, and sometimes you have to be on move, and I apologize. I mean, I really didn't expect. I thought I'd be a few minutes ahead and I'd be at my location already, but
Hey, you can do man on the street interviews because you are the man on the street at this moment. All right, we're just going to talk to you and pretend that you're not in the middle of traffic.
What?
Never mind. Okay. What happened? Suddenly it went like silent. What did you do? Find a bathroom to talk to us in, or okay, whatever happened, it's working.
I put my hand over the microphone to kind of hold it down a little bit. With these techniques that we can make it sound good even out in the field.
Okay,
All
are
right,
people going to
well-
think you're nuts that you're standing in the middle of the street just like loudly talking on a
This
podcast?
is like Washington D.C. I mean, really.
Well, they do have these little areas where in the wintertime you don't want to stand right out on the platform and totally do.
Oh, there goes the
Yeah,
subway
this
again.
is Dan. I love you, but I think this is a very difficult way to do an interview. We can barely hear
if
you.
I'll take them if that's all I can get. But if you can
But
try
if we
and
can't
move,
hear
it's
him,
great.
Deborah, what is the
We'll
point?
just talk over him. But anyway,
Can you just like crouch down on the sidewalk and do a little quiet
I can
area?
call you guys back in like 2 minutes if you want to.
no, just move. I think it's fine.
Deborah, it
I'll
sounds
keep
like
moving.
we're at the bottom of a bathtub. It's a
I'll
disaster.
keep moving.
Well, I think
I'll be on the move.
he's gonna be on the move. I think that's better instead of just losing him. But look, last time I was in D.C., which is when I was taking my kid a couple weeks ago to look at schools. I mean, talk about odd things that happen on the street. We were walking by the White House, and there was a large group protesting circumcision. I'm thinking, boy, people will protest anything in D.C. And I'm thinking, what's the president going to do about this? And they had like little blood stains, there. Swear to God, I will bring in pictures next week. I probably have it and give it to John.
You ask your 3 sons; they would probably protest circumcision.
I don't know. They were right. What am I to say? I'm like, sorry, I had them all done when they were little kids. But I mean, the oddest things happen in D.C.
You are upsetting Dorothy's mother. Look at her face. She's getting really upset over there when you started talking about blood and things
No,
and
but
the
I'm just saying
circumcision.
some of the strangest things.
You said
Dan,
the
and
F
I'm setting
word
this
and-
up because I'd like to know what are some of the oddest things that you've done and covered as the White House correspondent over there.
Oh my goodness! I think one of the things whenever you're covering the president, you always you'll come across people who support him, and so there's this overwhelming joy as you enter the town with people lining the roads. They're all excited about it, but you oftentimes will run into some of these unusual protest groups, as you were just referencing, and you'll see all kinds of stuff. I mean, some of it's pretty gruesome, whether it's it has something to do with the abortion debate or something else. And they'll be there vying to hopefully get just a few seconds of the president's eyeballs. And those are always stunning. I'm always amazed that even in bad weather, people will go out of their way to try to get their message seen or heard.
Well, that says something for the process, though, right? I mean, for people, they want to get out there. You're right. Even in bad weather, even if they have something sort of odd to talk about.
Circumcision goes on even in
I
bad
couldn't
weather.
believe it. I mean, it was.
That's right. It shows dedication, right?
Dan, it seems like every Republican who actually is a Republican is jumping into the race. What do you think about Carly Fiorina? I've interviewed her, and I always got sort of a chilly feel from her. But then again, I
She
mean,
just doesn't like you. What
Well,
is
maybe.
it?
She really has quite a
You're right.
story.
It does seem like the field is very crowded on the Republican side. I think what Carly Fiorina brings to the table two things. First of all, as a female, and she does touch on some of the issues that are critical to women voters out there, and so I think she can find some support among women voters. But in addition to that, one of the things that she really is touting is her business experience. And as you know, one of the things I think the themes that you're hearing is taking shape for the 2016 campaign is this whole issue of income inequality. And so everyone is still trying to put together their economic plans as to how they propose that you can sort of make that gap not as wide. But she certainly has the business experience, and it's something that you'll hear her tout quite a bit, and gives her somewhat of an advantage in a crowded field.
But don't you think it's sort of a Mitt Romney business experience where, yes, she saved companies, but
And
lost
she
a lot
fired
of
people.
jobs? That didn't play well for Mitt.
Well, you have to think that that's going to be part of the battle plan for, on the other side of it's Hillary Clinton, shooting arrows at her. That's who her opponent is. You can always, someone who's been in business, big business, you can always go after them on that. But at the same time, she can turn it to her advantage, and she can talk about creating jobs. She can talk about actually managing a company and how that can translate to managing a country. She can talk about just managing an economy of a major company, and again, translate that to managing the economy of this country. And so, yes, there are disadvantages because you do have this record, but at the same time, it's something that you can tout, and it will resonate, especially with people who are struggling either below the middle class line or at that line and concerned about, how taxes or other things in the future could impact them.
So you think the Republicans are once again going to have like 60 guys in these debates? I mean, that did not work out well for them last time.
I think it's
look like that. I mean, when you look at all the names, lining up, you got Ben Carson, Rand Paul, Marco Rubio, Huckabee's floating around with it, Jeb
Okay,
Bush.
I have to say, I started
well.
laughing when I saw, I don't mean to laugh at the guy, he's had quite a career, but Huckabee, when I saw him back up on the stage, I thought, wow.
Mom loves him.
Yeah, did you actually listen to his announcement? Because I watched the whole thing on C-SPAN, unfiltered, which is what I like best. Okay, so you know what? Whether I agree or disagree with his politics, which I don't really agree with his politics, Huckabee actually came across very presidential.
He does.
Very presidential.
Yeah.
He was well-spoken. He hit all the key points for the Republicans. And I got to say, there were a few things he said that just universally made sense. Do I like him any better than I did last time?
No.
Personally, no. But it was a pretty impressive, very presidential-looking launch compared to Dr. Ben Carson's, which was very big, looked more democratic. I also watched that unfiltered on C-SPAN. Thank
Impressed.
God for C-SPAN.
So impressed.
God, you're boring.
Right? I'm thinking, I'm watching the
One other thing
Kardashians.
that Mike Huckabee has going, as you mentioned, he's done
Seriously.
this before, but in addition, he's had the stint on television, so
Right.
that allows him to really, figure out how the whole messaging problem that a lot of candidates have. He's also a minister, so he's used to getting up and talking to people on their level.
Yep.
So he has a lot of things going for him. You may not agree with his politics, but certainly he does have that sort of presidential profile.
Right, and he knows how to present, so yeah.
He does, and for that, and for the conservatives, I really think he's got quite a message for the conservatives. He really does. They identify with him, and
he
it
does.
resonates.
And evangelicals have always been his base, and I think he does resonate with evangelicals who make up a very powerful part of that voting bloc.
But having said that, who do you think it's going to come down to with the Republicans? I could see
Oh, geez,
Rubio.
there's like 20 more who are going to get in.
I don't
but
think
you know
you can
what?
call it yet,
No, you
actually.
can't call it. But if I were,
Yeah,
I could see Rubio
it's
and
hard
Bush
for me to
and
call it.
Fiorina.
It really is. But I think that it would be a very interesting Bush-Clinton race. That would be kind of interesting.
That'd be sad.
Although I don't know if you saw what Jeb Bush did when he was asked on Fox about. Had he known what is now known of the war in Iraq, would he still have gone in? And he said yes. He later had to backtrack a little bit on Sean Hannity on the radio show, saying that he misunderstood the question. He thought they were talking about had he had the information at the time, would he have made that same call? But I think the whole war in Iraq thing, at least the way he laid it out, that could come back to bite him.
I mean,
Absolutely.
would anybody make that call again except maybe Dick Cheney? Would anybody else make
my
that
God.
call again?
It's like a Bush problem
Nobody
in the
would.
DNA,
And, he shouldn't have even answered that question. You just need to stay away from that because it doesn't matter about what happened in the past. He should have just said, look, the bottom line is we know what we know now, and I wouldn't have gone in based on what we now know. And you just stay away from that because it's a subject that's not going to win you any points.
Hey, Dan, before you go, can you just tell us what do you think about Dr. Ben Carson? What do you think of him?
Well, it's interesting. There was a lot of buzz even before he came out and announced. Among the conservatives, there were a lot of emails going around. So on social media, he has strong support. Frankly, I don't know that he has his runway is going to be that long. But he certainly is resonating with conservatives, especially among evangelicals. I was on a mailing list, email list, and they were very fired up about him. So he might eat into some of Huckabee's voting bloc, but I think he'll do okay. But I don't know that this is somebody, at least this round, who will make it to any further.
Well, you lived with the Obama administration, literally. Do you think, I mean, just historically, that now the country is ready to sort of switch over and vote in a Republican? Or do you think that the transition is more likely that the country will stick with a Democratic president?
So, can you? I don't know that I fully understand your question.
Well, we've had a
Neither do we. Neither do we. It's
Well,
not
we had
your
a-
fault, Dan.
We've had a Democrat in office for 8 years now. And historically, it tends to sort of, transition over. You've got your Democrat in
Oh,
for
I
8
see.
years, and then you've got a Republican. Having said that, do you think this round it would be more likely that a Democrat would stay in office? In other words, probably, I'm guessing it would be Hillary Clinton at this point
Right.
today. Do you think that's possible, or do you think it's going to more swing over to the Republicans, based on?
Well,
history?
yeah, it's so hard for me to predict that. I think ultimately people vote based on how they feel, their economic status is or their situation at the time. And so I think that's what will be the deciding factor. I don't know. I mean, if we look back historically and we can see these trends. So, Republicans are in for a while, then Democrats, and you see sort of the switching back and forth. But that, I think, is a little harder to predict. I think what you can be sure of is that people, if they're feeling really great about their financial, their economic situation, and I think more than likely they will stick with Democrats. They'll say, hey, here's someone, they may not like President Obama, but they can look back at when he first got into office and where it is now. And if they're feeling good about their situation, then they'll say, hey, I'll give a Democrat a shot. If not, and if the Democrat is strong, I mean, if it's Hillary Clinton and she resonates with the message that they're looking for, then I think she has a shot. I think if they're not feeling well about their economic situation, and Hillary Clinton isn't able to be the ordinary kind of candidate that she wants to be, then I think Republicans will get in.
You know what? Last night,
How's
Bill
that?
Clinton was on with. That was pretty good. And you could
Stepped
have wussed out
out.
and just said, I didn't understand the damn question.
I did.
Well, you did ask it.
Yeah.
You were the only one, but go on.
So last night, Bill Clinton was on with David Letterman, saying goodbye to Letterman. And Letterman said to him, your granddaughter, when she gets a little older, you're going to be able to say to her, Grandpa was president. And I thought it was odd that Bill didn't say, but then Grandma will be president. But he did not say that. He missed
I
an
know.
opportunity.
Grandma and Grandpa were president. Wouldn't that be something? What I'm looking for is to see what kind of first husband he'll be.
Could you
I think that would be
imagine-
kind of interesting. And what role will he take on? Because he'd have to pull back from some of his corporate stuff that he's doing, and he might present some fodder as the first husband. That would be great for the late night comedian.
Oh,
So
God,
that's
yeah.
what I'm looking forward to.
Are you kidding? I say go back into the White House and be a White House correspondent. That would be amazing. You get to see the shoes flying again from all the stories.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know. One time was enough for me. I'm ready to move on.
So what are you moving on to? I know that you have your website and you wanted to talk a little bit about you're going to Cuba, right? You're on your way.
That's right. So, yeah, we have heartbeings.com. We're coming up on our 6-month anniversary on Saturday. And then I'm working on a special for PBS, a show called Religion and Ethics News Weekly. I'll be going to Cuba next week, and we're focusing on some of the changes that you're seeing happening in Cuba now. They're building their first church, a Catholic church there, and will be constructing their first Catholic church there in 56 years. Over the weekend, Raul Castro was at the Vatican talking with the Pope, and he said that, when I go back to Cuba, I'm going to pray, and when the Pope comes in the fall, I will go to Mass with him. So this is pretty dramatic, and I was told by one Cuban official that this is serious. He doesn't just say things for the sake of getting good publicity, but he really means.
And goodbye, Dan Lothian. Thank
Bye,
you.
Dan.
Good luck on your trip to Cuba.
I love you, Dan. Thanks for taking care of my kid in Boston. And I guess the Washington, D.C. subway finally got to him.
And for the record,
jumped.
Hillary allegedly threw a lamp at her husband, not
A lamp?
shoe.
Oh, I've
A
heard
lamp.
shoe. I'm sure there's been lots of things thrown at
Yeah,
her
that probably
husband.
wasn't the only thing.
Could you imagine?
Well, that was fun. Well,
wouldn't
let's
you?
move on to Barbara now. Barbara's been great. Barbara
Very
Jacoby.
patient.
Oh, what a
Hello,
love.
Barbara. Barbara
Hi.
Jacoby's in studio. And,
Yay.
and
Where's my clapping for
Where's Barbara's clapping? So
That was my mom. She's very loud in her applause.
yes, she's very good. So, I've never met Barbara before. I met Barbara on Twitter. That's how I know Barbara.
I love that.
I know.
Yeah.
And
Twitter stalker.
isn't that funny?
Yeah.
And I
You are.
invited Barbara on the show because over the last few years, I've been interacting with Barbara on the issues of breast cancer and domestic violence. And I thought, who is this Barbara Jacoby? She's so interesting. She's this award-winning blogger for the Huffington Post. You have your own blog. And you've been through so much, and now you're an advocate for people. So welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it very much. And actually, I was stalking her. There are a few people across the country that are
stalkable?
that are in the media that I admired the work that they were doing and so forth. So reached out to add them to my Twitter.
Thank you for doing that.
It's just
And
wonderful.
that brought her here. So thanks for doing that.
And isn't that fun to have a guest that you find on Twitter and say, hey, will you come on our show?
And that she's not crazy. So
well,
that's the good
but
thing.
we are.
No, I did that with Natalie the psychic, and I thought I knew her. And she's like, no, you don't know me. You've just been Twitter stalking me. I said, okay. I know you now.
It's the new world, right?
Absolutely.
So I was reading about you, why you're so passionate, and you were telling me in the green room that the domestic violence that you lived with early on in your first marriage was so horrendous that when cancer came around, you were like, I got this, man.
Absolutely. I went
Wow.
through 10 years of domestic abuse, had a loaded gun in my face on a regular basis, and was promised that if I left, I would be hunted down and killed. And when it got to the day that that would be preferable, and I walked out the door, I knew I'd never have a bad day again in my life. And that's been the case.
What gave you the courage to walk out? There's so many women who are afraid to do that.
I couldn't take it anymore. That was my breaking point. And like I said, if he found me and killed me, that was preferable to
staying.
living that way any longer.
When you were living there, how did you keep yourself in the situation? How did you talk yourself down?
Most of the time, it was because of my work and being focused on that and never opposing him, never doing anything that would set him off. I knew he'd come in the door already, on the offensive with accusations and everything else.
And
but
with a
just say
gun.
nothing. Yeah.
How old were you?
24.
Wow.
When you finally walked out the door, where did you go? Because you must have planned it somewhat.
Actually, I did. Some friends of mine helped me find a place initially, but I set it up so that I continued to carry him on my medical insurance and on the car insurance and so forth. So that was an incentive for him not to do anything.
Right. Smart.
You really thought that he was going to kill you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Did he hunt you down?
Well, he knew where I was at that time, but as long as he was receiving benefits still, then he didn't do anything. He knew where I was until I actually picked up and left the state.
Jesus, it's like ransom you had to pay.
Everything always works out for the best, and if I hadn't gone through that and left the state then and moved on from there, I wouldn't be here today. And I wouldn't trade this for anything.
Do you speak to women publicly about this? I think it's so important because women are scared. I was just actually talking to a family member of mine who was afraid, like a removed cousin, and she called me over the weekend and said, I have an abusive husband, I'm afraid to leave. And I thought, oh my God, what can I do from here? She was on the East Coast and she's been afraid to leave. And what do you say to somebody like that who's in that position?
Get help.
Get out. Yeah.
Get help. There are places to call where
Yeah.
you can go and be hidden away if you are in fear of your life. The biggest problem usually is that these women will have children, maybe even pets and so forth, and it's hard for them, especially if they're not working or have a source of income, to be able to sustain a home and a household for their family if they leave successfully.
So how did you, when you started this blog, and I was reading how it was your husband who basically, your second husband, your good husband,
The good husband.
the good husband, right, who basically said as you were going through your breast cancer that you just write and I'll figure out this website for you. I'll do it all for you. You write. Was this your first or your second bout with cancer?
This was within days of being diagnosed the second time.
And what type of cancer, if you could tell everyone?
I had breast cancer and
Twice.
yes. And after I was diagnosed the second time, which was right after the holidays, Well, actually, I had a pretty good idea when they were testing before the holidays that that was probably going to be the outcome. But he said, you know, you need to do something with this. You keep everything in and so forth. He said, I know you like to write. So he set up the whole thing, and I started with a blog in January of 2008, and about basically nothing. I just wrote whatever I was thinking about. Every Sunday I posted a blog, and the first time that I wrote about cancer and got a response back from a woman,
That was everything.
it was. It changed the whole tide, because at that time it was basically MySpace and the beginning of Twitter and Facebook that were taking off. So for someone to say, thank you, I'm glad to know that I'm not alone, was the tide turning.
And you probably felt like I went through all of this for that moment, right? Because that's why I'm here, right?
Even not at that point. It was just, okay, so I'm writing and it's making a difference, at least in this one person's life. I think the biggest impact came when I got my first response from a child whose grandmother was dealing with breast cancer and was scared to death and faced the situation that many children still do, and that is when the diagnosis occurs in their family, everybody in the adult world are all talking among themselves, and the child is not being considered in the conversation. And all this child could do was be fearful and not knowing what to expect, think, or anything else, and turn to me. And I believe that was the one that really made me feel like there was a need for that aspect of it.
What's the difference between the kind of fear you felt when you were being threatened with a gun and the kind of fear you felt when you knew that you were battling cancer?
Fear for your life from the gun, intimate, right in your face type of thing. From the beginning, I never really had a feeling that cancer had spread. I just felt like everything was going to be all right. Just tell me where to go, what to do, when to report, what should be done. You're the experts. And this also was another area that set me off to thinking about so much more than just always saying and doing exactly what your doctor tells you to do. Because I ended up being sent to an oncologist who decided that my treatment should be based upon statistics for a woman of my age from WebMD.
What? I could have done that for you.
I could have done that for me. And he was going to send me off to chemotherapy right off the bat. This was on a Friday afternoon. I went home. I thought about it over the weekend, and I knew it didn't feel right. So I
Right.
called on Monday morning, first thing, told them I would not be returning, went back to my primary care physician and asked for a referral elsewhere. She gave me a fantastic doctor who, till my dying day, I will be grateful to. The interesting part was he was in the same medical group. So when I had to go to my...
Oh, no.
When I
Boy,
had to
that's
go-
always difficult.
Go into my appointments, we set it up to go in the back door. So
No,
I
you're
wouldn't have to. I
kidding.
swear. I swear to God.
I've done that, right?
How crazy
I
is
changed
this?
in the same group, and they were like, "Why?"
But
It's
this
very
woman is
uncomfortable.
battling cancer, for God's sakes. You've got the weight of the world on your shoulders, and on top of it, you have to go in the back door
Not hurt the doctor's
and
feelings.
not hurt the doctor's feelings. Oh my God.
or more like his ego, right?
Unbelievable.
We were raised that way. Whatever the doctor said, they were.
No, it's
the
true.
medical. They were the gods. They're the ones that knew everything. You didn't know anything about medical care, and so that was one of the things that turned me into a patient advocate. Believe me.
But don't you think just knowing that you were going to be okay because you somehow knew
Yeah.
that, don't you think that helps you battle cancer and heal?
I thought yes, and basically I figured if I got out of the first round with my life, that I was here to do something. I was here to make a difference. Didn't know exactly what that difference would be or what that path would be, because I still to this day work a full-time job, and I am not a nonprofit. So all the work that I do is strictly my volunteer work and so forth. But I knew there was a reason, and every time I get a response from somebody who says, thank you for sharing that information about this going on in the research world, or this clinical trial, or this group doing this, that, or the other thing, or these people raising funds, or this new program being available, I know that was the whole reason for my getting cancer.
How many years have you been cancer-free now?
7.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Just got checked about a month ago.
Oh, that's wonderful. So, Barbara, when your blog started to take off, and you entered into a realm of social media which is occupied by a bunch of young kids, I'm curious as to how you felt in this forum and how you've risen and distinguished your blog and yourself in this forum and in this medium.
There are 2 things that make me feel very comfortable. First of all, if you look at the opposite ends of the spectrums, it's the older people and the younger people that do not want to do the research. They don't want to check. They want to have everything handed to them down and dirty. And so I figured, well, this works for me very well. I also work with a bunch of millennials. And so I have a pretty good ability to communicate, relate to them, and so forth. I love computers. I love social media. I love everything that it has done and brought to our world, and I only wish that my parents would have been able to see, those types of things, especially my father, who was an engineer designer, and for instance, he created the equipment that produced the flash cubes for Kodak cameras.
Oh my
Oh,
God, I remember
wow.
those.
Yeah, so he would
I don't.
love this. He would absolutely love social media.
Yes, you do.
He'd love the engineering, the technology, and so forth.
So, what do you think, other than social media, which apparently you're pretty good at, what do you think made people pay attention to this blog? There's a zillion bloggers out
Yeah,
there.
there are.
I'm on their side, and when
There's a lot of heart to your blog.
when I see statistics, for instance, there were I became aware of as a Komen blogger, for instance. It's not that I associate myself with Komen, but it gives me an opportunity to get inside information. And there
Right.
was a big study done, and there's a big program going on here in California that most people don't even know about, and it has to do with free mammograms for 2 years.
For anyone, or explain?
Well, it's for underserved and specifically targeted for a lot of the African American women. The rate of women with advanced breast cancer dying in the African American community is 40% in the United States. In Los Angeles, it's 70%.
Oh my Lord.
Wow.
That's
I want to
enormous.
know why. See, this is where I go. I want to know why.
Why? Do we have any idea?
Well, they're not getting the care. They're not even getting a mammogram, right?
They're not, but why are not?
Right,
Why
why
are they
not?
It's because there's what is known as the digital divide. They do not have access to any information through social media because they don't
They're not
have
on social media.
they don't have electronic equipment. Some of them don't even have so much as a cell phone. Nobody is getting the message to them to let them know about these programs that are available and how they can access that and the help and so forth. So that is my next initiative. And I've already been working on a program that I'm hoping to get funding to sponsor so that that information can be, a lot of these women are single moms. And if I can get the program that I want together to get the information through the schools, through the children taking home
And they
flyers,
can take it home
and
to the
they
mom.
can come to the school and be guided on social media or through computers, and this is what's available
Well,
and so forth.
Let me stop you there for a second. Do you still get flyers from your kid's school? Because I
No.
don't. There's not
There-
one flyer that
no,
goes
there are no
around.
flyers.
It's all on the computer, and half the time I don't even read it. I'm like, what?
Some public schools, though, do still do flyers. Some do, but not that many.
Yeah,
But
so
I've-
it's something
I've-
to think about.
Well, I've had discussions with my friend who is the head of a program called Project Fit America, celebrating their 25th anniversary. She's always worked in the underserved communities, and her program is to get funding for children for their schools, for gym equipment, and so forth, for after-school programs. She and I have had great discussions about this, and those children in those schools are receiving flyers through the children to the homes because they don't have that access. So those are the people we're trying to reach anyway.
So how did you name your blog, Let Life Happen?
It's terrific, isn't it? I love it.
It actually started out as a CD, which my husband and I produced together. I wrote all 15 of the songs, title song being Let Life Happen. He sang it. We had some fantastic musicians here in the Los Angeles
You
area
do
that
the whole
helped us
damn
put
thing.
it together. I mean, it's projects together with my husband have always been successful.
I'm glad you found a good one the second time around.
If you are not an inspiring story and person, that is amazing to come from where you did with an abusive husband, and now you're out here just getting out a message that you're passionate about. I love that, and that's wonderful. I really applaud you.
I
That's
really
fantastic.
appreciate it.
And she's adorable too.
See what happens when you actually go on Twitter, Deborah? You might meet someone.
I'm on Twitter.
Your world may expand.
I am on Twitter. I just don't post pictures.
I think that's Tumblr.
Wow.
So nice to
That's
meet
a whole
you.
nother show.
I must say one thing, talking about the anniversary for Channel 11 and the morning show. That's how I knew you.
What morning
And
show?
believe-
She's
and
saying something
believe me,
nice.
After you left, I left. I'm over at another
That's why.
channel.
That's why I said what morning show. I thought it went off the air 2 years ago. No.
But you were one of the main reasons, if not the main reason, to be there. You know, you brought an element to the programming in the morning that just unparalleled. So you left, I left.
We'll be somewhere else.
Barbara.
Yes, absolutely.
Did I find
Thank
a good
you.
one on Twitter?
You can Twitter stalk anytime.
Barbara, for me, it's been such a great pleasure. It's full circle.
too.
After all these years of tweets back and forth, I am so glad to have met you.
Well, you have touched my heart. That was the reason why I loved the work that you were doing, and I knew and checked out what you were doing along with Dorothy. And I'm I cannot tell you how happy I was to be able to be honored in this way to share this message.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for
What
all
an
the good
Thanks for being
inopportune
here.
moment for me to sneeze. Anyway, lovely to meet you.
So nice
Thank
to
you.
meet
What a
you.
nice show. Great
Really
show.
nice
And thank you
show.
for being with us, and we'll have you back. Thanks
Thank
again.
you.
Bye, everyone.
And bye to Dorothy's mom.
Yes,
lovely,
bye.
beautiful mom.
And
Bye,
Dan
Mom.
somewhere in the subway.
Dan's in the subway, and
And your
Charlie
buddies.
and Jason. Hello.
Hi,
Thanks
guys.
for coming. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Bye.
Shows that make you laugh. Shows that make you think. Music that moves you. It could only be one place. Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at ubnradio.com.